Hi, I'm Lonna Kelly, and this is Hudson Valley Art Speak. I'm glad you could join us tonight. And we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is photography. And with me tonight is Stephen Cihanek, who is a very interesting photographer. He's got a lot of different work going on, and we're going to hear all about it. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Lonna.
Thanks for coming.
So, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, how did you get started in photography?
Basically, it started from when I was a little kid. My mom got me this little 120 Kodak camera, and apparently I loved taking pictures. I was not very good at it. I remember being chased by a donkey at one point. But as time went on, and my parents got me like a 35mm camera, it kind of went from there. But really, I didn't get into it I didn't really think I was going to do anything with it other than just for fun until I started doing lighting design over at the Brookfield Theater for the Arts. And their photographer was using a flash on their camera, and I wanted to capture my lighting. So I took my own pictures, and people really responded to those. And I thought, hey, maybe this is something I should look into doing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, when you think about it, a theater show is well lit, so that the use of a flash would, take out all the shadows, all the subtleties that you have in there.
Yeah, definitely. And photography really is just capturing light. So it's freezing light in a moment, and if I'm trying to freeze the light that I designed, not the light that's coming off of somebody else's camera, so that's why I wanted to do it myself.
Right. Right. So looking at your theater images, it looks like you're pretty successfully doing that, capturing deep, saturated colors. And
yeah, definitely. I love doing shows that have a lot of color to it. My shows, I don't tend to design that way, but I have some friends who design theirs, and the ones that are on the wall behind me are from his shows. And there's so much color in those that it almost is like watching like a cartoon in a way, especially once I process the images. So.
Right, right. Do you have to do a lot of editing and boosting up color or things like that?
Not typically. I try to take it straight out of the camera, but then there are a few that to me, I just really want to pop them a little bit more, and I'll kind of smooth out the skin a bit and highlight the edges and sort of oversaturate the color just a little bit, just to kind of really kind of make it pop. It's not something I would want to do for every image, but just certain ones that I thought would look good that way.
Right. And where did so you kind of have a progression, a path that you went. So what was the next step for you after doing the theater?
The theater, there's two different paths. With my artistic side, the theater, one particular image was a Red Riding Hood shot that I took that kind of launched me into a series of Red Riding Hoods, which I did a few of them, and that ended up in the Red Show over in Patterson at the Front Street Gallery, and then they asked me if I would show over at the Kent Library, and I was like, a library next to the kids section, let me do storybook characters. So from the Red Riding Hood in the theater to the Red Riding Hood for the show to a bunch of storybook characters, including Pocahontas and The Little Mermaid. I let the people my subjects, I let them pick who they want it to be, and then I just designed the shot around them. So.
Uh-huh. And did you do most of those in the studio, or do you do them outside?
Oh,
how do you do that?
All on location.
Uh-huh.
So if the character needs to be near water, they're by water. If they're in the woods, they're in the woods.
Right. So people could run into you around Dutchess County.
Yeah,
shooting.
Definitely. I'll be all over the place.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I thought I had recognized one of the spots in one of your photographs. And it's funny because I know another photographer who goes over to that spot near the Great Swamp and photographs also. She does portraits over there.
It's a great place for it.
It really is. It's a really nice place. So So you also do wedding photography?
I do, from basically the other branch from the theater. So I started getting into it, and I started, during my day job, photographing little events that we had in the office. And one manager came up to me on a Wednesday and said, "Are you doing anything on Saturday?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you photograph my son's wedding? He forgot to hire a photographer." So I said, "Sure, as long as you're not really expecting much." I've never done a wedding before. And I just had so much fun with it that I decided I really needed to look into doing this. So I took some classes down at School of Visual Arts. Believe it or not, they have classes on wedding photography.
Yeah,
At least they did at the time.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of started doing it for friends and friends of friend at first, and that kind of grew, and now it's actually a business. It's a part-time business for me, but I'm doing a lot of work with that. I have my own wedding photography business, and I also second shoot for some other ones, some other local photographers around here.
And do you want to do this full time? You have a day job and you do this?
I would love to do this full time, but luckily I actually do enjoy my day job, which I do video production. So it's very similar. I can't be as creative as I can with the photography because I'm doing it in a corporate setting, but at least I get to be behind the camera and editing for for most of my job.
Do you do any video in your photography work?
I do, actually, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to integrate technology in with photography. So I do videography for weddings and for other events, but I also, in my photography, I will put a small GoPro camera on my flash bracket to videotape the event as I'm photographing it. And then, and I can give you a sample, I don't know if the cameras can pick this up, but I'll use the Pocahontas shot there. It's called augmented reality, and it'll recognize the image and start playing a video over the top of the image. And what I do that with the weddings, where I will actually use on their wedding book. So they'll have a video play over a static image in their wedding book while they're sitting there flipping through the pages.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, and what program is that?
This program is called Orasma. There's a few out there. I saw an episode of TED Talks where they were talking about augmented reality, and I had to research this, and I was like, I've got to use this somehow. So.
Yeah, I don't know any other wedding photographers or really photographers who are using that right now.
At the time that I started doing it, I Googled it, and at least according to my Google search, I was the only one doing it. I'm not anymore. I have seen other wedding photographers doing it, but there's not a lot. So.
Do you ever shoot video with your DSLR?
I do,
you
yes. Do? Yeah. So I've just started getting into actually using dedicated video cameras, but most of the video I do is with the DSLR.
So technology, what else do you do that's kind of a step forward in photography?
So I don't know if it's a step forward. I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but I started playing around with photographing subjects using lasers to light them. So at first I did it where it was just, so it would be a long exposure, 10 seconds or something, and I would squiggle the laser around. And it looked kind of interesting until I started playing with it in Lightroom. Whereas you can see with the ones that are behind you, those aren't sketches, those are actually photographs.
Yeah,
so,
I thought they were sketches at first, yeah.
So basically what I do is I have the person pose in the position that they're in, then I go to one side, I squiggle, after I open the shutter, I squiggle the laser on one side, I go to the other side, squiggle the laser on the other side, shut the camera. So now what I have is a black image with green lines on it. Then in Lightroom, I basically convert it to black and white and then invert the colors. So now the green lines became white lines, the white lines are now black lines on a white background. So it looks like it's a hand sketch, but it actually is a photograph.
Right, and so you're doing this in the studio, just basically without lights, using the laser to draw it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, I could do all different sort of patterns with the laser, whether I squiggle the laser or trace them with the laser or whatever. The ones that I did here behind you are basically just squiggled, so it looks like it's kind of like a hand's pencil drawing.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. That's very interesting. So what else? What's next for you in terms of photography?
I'm not really sure. I'm still working on the laser series. It's going to be in a lobby at the Common Ground in Danbury when I'm done with it. And so once I'm done with that, I'm not really sure. But I do like technology. So anything that I can bring into photography that's maybe a little bit different than the norm, then that's kind of where I want to go with it.
Yeah. What about your falling series? Why don't you tell me about that?
Yeah, a lot of people asked about that.
Yeah, how did you do it?
How did I do it? So basically, if you look at the picture and
Yeah.
then turn your head 90 degrees. So she actually just jumped straight up in the air.
Okay.
The spot of light that looks like it's on the floor is actually on the wall behind her.
Okay, okay.
So-
That's what I thought, but I wasn't,
Yeah.
100% positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that people at that was in the Front Street Gallery.
Yep, it was at the Front Street Gallery.
Yeah.
And which was kind of cool. Somehow it went from there to, was it the Chronogram magazine?
Yeah.
So I got into that. I'm not sure how the progression happened, but I was very happy that it got published. So that was nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that Jeanette sent it to them and
Yeah.
with a press release about your work but yeah, that was really nice. A full page in the Chronogram. Yeah. Yeah. So how about have you had any stuff in the Front Street in the gallery in Eastern Hay? Have you been to?
Yes, that's right. I did a series there. They had found me online somewhere, and that honestly, is the only place that I've actually sold a piece of work. I was very happy. It was one of the ones that was done on the walkway, and then another one that was done at Stone Church over in Dover. So
Great. So how often do you do a wedding? Is that something that I mean, it seems to me weddings are very intense.
they are.
So there must be a very intense process to get ready, and then you have the wedding, and then you have the editing. So it's pretty time consuming, huh?
The editing is the most time consuming part, and I think the prep for me is the most stressful. Once I'm there, I'm there. I kind of just go with the flow, and I've had, I don't know whether it's my personality or what, but couples seem to feel very comfortable with me. I've done weddings for people, and then I did one wedding for a couple, and then I did it for the bride's mother when she got remarried, and then I did a wedding for a couple, and then I did their son's christening, and I've had couples try to set me up with people before. I don't know. I kind of feel like they almost draw me into their circle. I don't feel like a vendor when I'm there, and I don't think that they look at me as a vendor while I'm there. And that's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want to show up and just be all business. I want to be all business. I want to get them great shots. I want them to have amazing memories of the day looking at the photos, and that's my goal. But I also want them to enjoy the process and not feel like I'm forcing things on them. So.
Right, and that could be one of the reasons why your shots look so intimate, and everybody looks comfortable in them. So we're just about finished for now, unless there's something else you wanted to add.
Can't
but
think of anything.
People can see your work on your website and see different examples on there too. So thanks a lot for
Thank you.
coming tonight.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
So.